And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. On the line with us, Senator Bernie Sanders in Washington, D.C. Senator Sanders, welcome back.
Good to be with you, Tom.
So what's up?
Well, a lot is up. We are working, as you know, on what I think is the most consequential piece of legislation for working families since FDR and the New Deal and the Great Depression. And, you know, what we're trying to do, and I think what is profound about what we're trying to do, is we're trying to take a hard look at the reality of American life today. Not saying, you know, we got to cut this, we got to do that, but we're saying what is going on in America today? What does it mean that tens of millions of working families are struggling? What does it mean that the people on top are doing phenomenally well and we have massive levels of income and wealth inequality? What does it mean that we're the only major country on earth not to have paid family and medical leave, that we got almost 600,000 people who are homeless and so many people spending half of their income on housing, that people can't afford child care, can't afford pre-K? What does it mean that elderly people can't afford the hearing aids they need, the dental care, the eyeglasses that they need? What does it mean that we pay the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs? What does it mean that our infrastructure, physical infrastructure, is crumbling? So what we're doing now, which is kind of unique in our lifetime, Tom, I think, is really taking a hard look. Now, people can disagree, or are we right on this or wrong on this? How much should we be spending? But we've never had a moment when we're actually looking at the real problems, including, obviously, climate and the devastation being wrought by climate change, where we're actually looking at the real problems and saying, okay, how do we address them? I've never seen that in my lifetime. And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you specifically, you're talking about this $3.5 trillion infrastructure legislation that you want to pass by reconciliation. What can people who are listening right now do to support your efforts in that regard? I mean, how do we need to be weighing in with our senator?
Yes. Well, I think we could do two things. As of now, there are no, I mean, and this is really a sad, look, everybody knows my political views, but it is really, honestly, a sad state of affairs when there is not one Republican, not one in the Senate, as of this moment, prepared to vote to raise taxes on the rich and large corporations and use that money to advance the needs of working families. So I think if you live in a state with Republican senators, get the word out. I don't know that you're going to turn them around, but at least expose them to other people. You know, you got the Republican Party. Oh, we are now the party of the working class. Really? Really? And that's why you're turning your back on every need that working families have? Expose them. And in the Democratic state, just make sure that the Democratic senators are prepared to be as tough and as strong as they have to be to pass this bill.
Yeah. Now, with reconciliation, there isn't as much of a concern about the filibuster, but Republicans in the Senate are also filibustering an attempt to put legislation into place that would, basically guarantee the right of all Americans to vote.
Right.
What's your sense of where that's going?
Well, look, that's just a huge, huge issue. And again, Tom, you've known me for years. I don't mean to be overly partisan. My views are my views. But we now have a Republican Party which, X number of years ago, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago, it was a center-right party, which believed in limited government, all that stuff, and that's fine. That's the point of view. But what you have now is a party that has moved away from almost any ideology to become a cult-like party intimidated by Donald Trump, a party today which many of its leaders, not all, but many of its leaders still maintain the lie that Trump actually won the election, which is why they're trying to undermine American democracy and make it harder for people to vote. Right now, the West Coast is burning in Vermont, where you used to live. We're getting particulate matter in Vermont, 3,000 miles away from Oregon.
From our fires here, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and they're denying the need, whether they deny climate change, some of them do. Others say, well, we can't do anything about it. I mean, you have a party which is more concerned now about suppressing the vote. Some of them, not all, again, are maintaining these fatal lies about vaccines. Not being clear that their supporters should come forward and get the vaccination. Something like 99% of the people who are dying today are unvaccinated from COVID. So that is where that party is. And right now in the Senate, it is unlikely we're going to get one vote to do what is enormously popular, what the American working class wants. And by the way, when we do all these things, rebuild the crumbling infrastructure, deal with climate, deal with child care, make community colleges tuition free, finally do paid family and medical leave, when we home health care, so that in an aging society people can get care at home rather than be forced to go into a nursing home, lower the cost of prescription. All these issues, Tom, are enormously popular. They're enormously popular, but they require standing up to powerful special interests. Yeah. And apparently we're not going to have one Republican who is prepared to do that.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy. We're talking with Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, my rant in my opening hour today was about how 1 in 5 Americans have now gone into collection. They don't just have medical debt, but it's been turned over to debt collectors, so they're being hounded at all hours of the day and night.
Unbelievable.
They're having their credit rating trashed. Some employers don't hire people with bad credit ratings. This will be on their records for years. Half, according to this new study from the Commonwealth Fund, half of the people who were diagnosed with COVID, not the people who died of it, just half the people are struggling to pay their medical bills. And I understand that there's a health component to this infrastructure legislation that you're trying to get through reconciliation. Could you tell us about that?
Thank you for raising this issue. When I ran for president, I called for the ending of all of this medical debt. And you could do that a lot cheaper than it looks like, because you could buy that debt for a fraction of the cost, the nominal cost of it. I'll never forget doing a town meeting in Iowa. That's where we were. And people coming forward, a woman coming forward where she was being hounded by bill collectors where her own kid was still in the hospital, question of whether the kid would live or die. And all of that speaks to, and by the way, you talk to people in Europe or in Japan and other countries, and you say, what are you doing about medical debt? They don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Oh, I had a caller from Canada and a caller from Paris, France today, or from France, both saying, medical debt? We don't have that here.
They don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
They don't know what the word deductible is about. They don't know what premium is about. They don't know what copayment is about in many countries. So all of this speaks to what is a dysfunctional, and I underline the word, healthcare system in which we twice as much per capita as we do in Canada, for example, and many other countries, and yet we end up with 90 million people uninsured or underinsured. You go to a hospital, no matter almost what your coverage is, you're going to come out with deep debt. You're going to get hounded. Your credit rating is at risk. It is an insane system. It is an insane system designed simply to benefit the pharmaceutical industry, which charges us by far the highest prices in the world, and the health insurance companies. So the good news is health insurance and the drug companies make billions in profit every year. They pay their CEOs outlandish profits. They have money to spend on lobbying and campaign contributions. But for ordinary people, this system is an unmitigated disaster. Now, in this bill, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it does everything that I want it to do. It doesn't. My views are not the views shared by every member of the Democratic caucus, nor on this issue by the president. I believe in a Medicare for all single-payer program, funded publicly and providing health care without any out-of-pocket expenses, which would eliminate the whole issue of medical debt. But this is what we do. Number one, we will expand Medicare to cover dental cost, hearing aids, and eyeglasses. A lot of seniors cannot afford dental care. Dentures are quite expensive. Hearing aids, very expensive. Eyeglasses, expensive. So we will cover that as part of Medicare. What we will also do is, at a time when in many states Republican leadership has not been prepared to expand Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act, we're going to figure out a way, and it's very complicated legislatively, to make sure that those people who today should be in Medicaid but are not are able to get the health care that they need. We also want to extend the subsidies of the rescue plan to make the Affordable Care Act more reasonable. And we want to lower the cost of prescription drugs. So those are some of the issues we are dealing with in the current legislation.
That's extraordinary. It's important stuff. You are doing God's work, Senator Sanders. And it's so nice to hear from you. Thank you so much for giving us a shot.
Okay, Tom.
Great talking.
Okay, take care.
Thank you. Keep up the great work. We'll be back.